Mr. Brian Jones.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. Brian, you started the campaign. How many weeks ago is it now?
We're into the third week now.
Yeah.
And everything is moving along at an amazing pace.
And what's the title of the campaign?
It's called Bring Back the MERSEYBEAT stage for the Liverpool Mathew Street Festival.
Now, when we say bring back the MERSEYBEAT stage, we've actually just found out there's only been something like 5 MERSEYBEAT stages in the last 17 years. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, when you start a music festival in Liverpool, the first thing that should be there is a MERSEYBEAT stage. It's like going to New Orleans and not having a stage for Dixieland jazz players to play on, or even going to like the likes of Vienna and not having Mozart playing in Vienna. It just wouldn't happen, and it can only happen in a crazy city like Liverpool.
Brian, tell us a little bit about your history with MERSEYBEAT and Liverpool.
Right.
How far back does it go?
It goes back really to 1960, 1960. Originally I was a butcher, and then I joined a band called the Rebels, and I was with them for about a year. And then one morning there was a knock on my door, and Jeff Nugent was standing there and said, I believe you sing. And I said, yes I do. Then he said, would you like to join a band? And I said, yeah. I said, I'd love to. And he said, well, you'll be singing a third of the numbers, is that okay? So I had to learn all these numbers very quickly. And I was with that band. It was called the Vegas 5, and then a bit further along they changed the names to the Undertakers. So I've been with the Undertakers for a long time now.
Has being part of the Undertakers made you a very rich man, Brian?
Oh, not at all. No. I'm probably as skint now as I've ever been. I don't do it for the money. I just do it for the love of the music.
Do you find lots of musicians are like that?
I think lots of musicians have been ripped off, taken for a ride, exploited. I think managers and agents are the ones that have made all the money in record companies, and there's a lot of poor musicians out there, which is totally wrong.
Does the fact that you feel that in a lot of ways over, say, the last 50 years it is now, that you've been taken advantage of, does it make it any more bitter to you when you hear things like, MERSEYBEAT isn't perhaps as very important and shouldn't even be considered as a must-have for something like the Mathew Street Festival? I mean, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very angry. I mean, MERSEYBEAT is a cultural music. It's a heritage, which is, I mean, if it wasn't for Liverpool and the MERSEYBEAT sound, there wouldn't have been a Brum sound, a Birmingham sound, or the Animals from Newcastle wouldn't have come on the scene, and lots of other bands, Sheffield and London, which followed later on. So I just think, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how can you have a festival in a city like music without the MERSEYBEAT stage and MERSEYBEAT musicians playing on it?
I heard it in an interview recently, MERSEYBEAT likened to country music in terms of its importance to the Mathew Street Festival. How does that make you feel?
Well, I think there's always been a very strong country following in Liverpool. I mean, there are lots of country bands in Liverpool. I mean, that's as important. But I mean, MERSEYBEAT is a homegrown music. It's just a Liverpool interpretation of American music and American rhythm and blues and soul music. It's played differently by MERSEYBEAT musicians. When
you say differently, Brian, I mean, I'm a couple of years younger than you, and so to me, I don't really know much about MERSEYBEAT. What is MERSEYBEAT? What sets it apart from, say, rock and roll or Delta blues?
Well, I mean, MERSEYBEAT music, the drums are more up in the mix with MERSEYBEAT music. The drums are a lot louder for a start off, and it's usually three guitars, 2 guitars, lead, rhythm and bass, and loud pounding drums, playing their interpretation of American blues or rock and roll, and it just comes out different. It doesn't come out at all like any of the Americans did it.
Brian, what are you trying to achieve with the campaign?
Well, what I'm trying to achieve is recognition for all the MERSEYBEAT bands who for years and years in Liverpool have gone out all over the world and entertained people and raised thousands of pounds for children's charities. I mean, MERSEYCATS is a children's charity, and so is Cheshire Cats, and lots of MERSEYBEAT bands play at these charities venues to raise money for physically, mentally and handicapped children. And that's what I feel very strongly about, because if there was a MERSEYBEAT stage in Liverpool, I mean, there would be people, thousands of people would be there to see MERSEYBEAT bands, and people could go round from these charities and collect money which would help the children. And that's a very important thing as well, because I think these children are getting neglected. And with MERSEYBEAT music, it is actually connected to the charities as well, as thousands of people all over the world wanted to see this MERSEYBEAT music. I mean, you can't have the Beatles now because the Beatles don't exist anymore. But what you have got is like fake bands coming to Liverpool, not real MERSEYBEAT bands, bands that actually play Beatles music. But I mean, nobody really wants to see, I don't, 50 assorted bands from all over the world playing Beatles music, and some of them are playing it quite badly. I mean, with MERSEYBEAT bands, and on the big ones who had all the hits like the Swing and Blue Jeans, the MERSEYBEATs, and bands like that, that at least you'd be able to hear the songs that they had in the charts as well as just Beatles songs. And I think variety is the spice of life.
How much time do these bands actually put in? I was just off camera really. You made a point there. You've got a lot of these bands going to MERSEYCATS and MERSEYRATS every week, putting all this time in and playing,
yeah.
And then it gets to the Mathew Street where they've got the chance to be on stage,
yeah.
And they're not getting the chance because they're bringing Lady Gaga in from somewhere else that has done nothing. Well, you know, Lady Garbage, as I call her.
And then there's going to be tribute bands as well. I mean, is there going to be a tribute band for the Undertakers? I mean, I hope if there is, they're going to have somebody handsome playing the saxophone.